For the past couple of days, we've been trying to provide you as much information related to the coronavirus as we possibly can. We've had team coverage. We really are focused on the science and the facts here. But we also want to help you protect your family. And one of the big questions that we keep hearing from folks is, how do I talk to my kids about this? And honestly, I've had this experience myself. It has been kind of complicated. So this morning, we are joined by two friends of the show, Dina Thayer and Kira Dorian. And they have a podcast called Raising Adults, which is fantastic. You guys, it's been a year, 2 years or so that you've been doing this. Yeah. Such a great resource. I was telling you in the break that I had this experience where my 6-year-old was coming home and saying, 100,000 people have died and it started in Canada. And I was like, oh my goodness, where did you get this information? So I thought, what should parents be thinking about as they're considering having this conversation with their kids?
Right, that's a great question. And there's kind of two things. So first, for most people, kids and adults alike, facts are helpful. Information makes things less scary. So whenever we as parents can kind of remove the shroud of mystery from a big scary topic like coronavirus, we're really doing them a favor. That being said, we want to keep those facts age appropriate. Yeah. So what you'd share with a kindergartner, of course, will look different than what you'd say to your teen. And also, really important that you know your own family and know your kids. We talk a lot about know your own people, and there are some kids who are maybe prone to being overwhelmed or anxious, for whom more information isn't actually better. So while we would still advocate having the conversation, you want to maybe scale back on the detail with those kiddos.
It's tough because you also want to be like, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. But you can't 100% say that. So it does feel like, you need to decide, I'm going to have this conversation, so what does it look like, basically?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think, first and foremost, we want to make sure as parents that we are coming across as calm and confident, because that sends the message, we've got you, it's going to be okay. We don't want to say it's going to be okay, we want to show that it's going to be okay. And then we want to start with facts. So in our house, we have 2 8-year-olds. I literally had this conversation 2 days ago. Yeah. And we started with, this is a new kind of flu that we don't know a lot about. And so much like the flu, we have to make sure that we're making safe choices. And we want to think about the greater community, because for our family, we're probably not that impacted. But there are people who maybe aren't that well or older that we need to be sure we're taking care of. So we gave our kids 3 new rules for the new flu. So the first was around hand washing. So we do a full ABC song for every time we wash our hands. Yep. We wash our hands before we leave the house and when we come home. And we wash them before every meal, which I'll be honest, we weren't doing before. Now we do. And so the second rule was we try not to touch our face too much. Yeah. And the third rule is we try not to touch other people too much right now. Scale back on hugs and kisses for non-family members.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. You came to the studio, I wanted to hug you both, and I was like, nope, we're not.
Right.
This is not a one-time thing, though. There are going to be some follow-up questions, right?
For sure. And they could be big. We kind of think there's questions that could be on both ends of the spectrum. Big questions, existential questions about dying, all the way to little things like, do I need to be nervous about going to school? And it isn't probably a one-time conversation. This is probably a series of discussions over weeks and even months as the situation unfolds. So be ready to keep answering questions and making room for your kids' feelings about it.
Do you think I should be checking in with them, or should I wait for them to come to me with
check-ins are great. Asking questions are great. Tell me more about that. If they're expressing I feel scared, ask, lean into that.
Yeah. We don't want to say, don't be scared.
Right.
They are going to be scared.
Right.
We should expect that.
Yeah.
But leaning into, tell me more. I want to understand. How can I help you feel more comfortable or more safe?
I'm here for you kind of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are going to do an episode on the podcast here coming up very soon. So how do we find the podcast, and when can I get this episode?
Yeah, so we're going to do a bonus episode. It'll probably drop tomorrow or Thursday, depending on how fast we can get it edited. And subscribers will know first. So the best way is to actually subscribe to the podcast. We're on all major platforms. It's called Raising Adults.
Awesome.
And then people can also go to our website, which is futurefocusedparenting.com.
Fantastic, Dina. And Kira, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate your advice. It helps me. Hope it helps you as well. Bill, back to you.
All right.